I think it's trying to.
All right, we're live.
Cool. Then we're there.
Cool.
Well, hello, everyone out there in podcast land and YouTube. This is the From Movie Reviews podcast, the podcast for people who actually like movies. My name is Craig, and we're going to talk about the third installment of the Thor movie franchise for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thor Ragnarok. And with me to discuss this tonight, in our full disclosure, I've got the lovely Scott McFarland.
I am lovely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Scott hosts our Twilight Zone. He hosts our Star Trek show. He's hosts a show on Alf, I think, or something is coming up soon. Basically, our TV guy. You're our TV guy now.
We have been talking about Babylon 5 and Briscoe County Jr., so bite me.
I love Briscoe County Jr. Oh my god, I haven't excited about this.
You either have a co-host or a listener. I don't know.
A little bit of both.
That's awesome. And I'll go with you next. We've got AJ joining us for the very first time on the podcast. How are you?
I'm excited.
That's awesome. So before we go to your lovely husband, we do have a question that we ask everyone on the front row when they're on for the first time. And that is, what is your favorite movie?
It's too hard to pick just one. I mean, it really is.
That seems like a pretty standard answer.
It really is. I can tell you some of my favorites. Like, if you want to go old school, what I used to watch all the time growing up was Sister Act. I know it's a random thing, but I used to love that.
That's awesome.
Clue. I love Moulin Rouge. So many movies. I could go on and on and on, but Heathers is a
Those
great.
are three really good movies. That's great. So let's see. So are you excited for the Moulin Rouge coming to Broadway? Are you okay with those Broadway adaptations, or you want to stay away from those?
I'm okay. With it. I gotta wait to see what it's gonna be. How it's
Yeah, for sure. I think they just announced some principal casting, so it's still definitely a long way down the road before we get to see that.
Sure.
Also joining us for not his first time, but the first time in a while, we're excited to have back Jeremy Bailey, Mr. Lincoln's Legends podcast himself. How are you doing, sir?
Okay, I'm happy to have my beautiful wife on the first podcast ever. I'm happy that it's about something that she absolutely loves and has for you. But,
It's okay.
I'm just really excited to have you here. Like, regardless of what I've ever done with the brand or will do, this is one of my favorite moments.
Oh, that's really nice. Well, what I'll say is that, so your Lincoln's Legends has gone to more of a monthly release schedule. So I sometimes get jealous of you for being able to put all of your content into one episode for a month. But it's still going strong. You can still go to LincolnLegends.com. You can still find you on Facebook and all that jazz.
Absolutely. I'm getting ready to post our thread right now.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you guys for all being involved. So there's two quick things I want to mention. First of all, we just had an incredible weekend. It was so much fun. Just covered the second annual Lincoln Film Festival. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but I got to interview a lady who got her name called at the Academy Awards. That's pretty incredible. So I hope that you go listen to it. I really enjoyed all of the interviews we got to do with Brenda Chapman, who directed Brave, with Kevin Lima, who directed A Goofy Movie, with Chris Garcia, the student director for Lincoln College, and then also with Simon Wells, who's directed Prince of Egypt, and the art director for Prince of Egypt, Richie Chavez, as well. So thank you again to all those guys and new listeners to the podcast that are coming from Lincoln to listen to us now. Welcome, and thank you so much for checking out this second episode to you, and probably our 280th episode by now or something like that. So fantastic weekend. It was a lot of fun. Second thing I want to mention, there's a little bit of a rumor mill breaking news with Marvel. Since this is a full disclosure about a Marvel cinematic film, I decided I wanted to spend just a couple of seconds talking about the rumor that Disney is looking to acquire 21st Century Fox. Now, what would that mean for Marvel fans? It would mean that we've been talking.
Our dreams would come true.
We were talking. Well, for so long, we've been talking about. Well, hopefully they'll make a deal like they did with Sony, and they'll get the characters. Well, now, as Scott said in the thread earlier, it's almost like Disney's going, "Oh, you don't want to give us your characters? We'll just buy your company." So it's pretty incredible. Guys, you have any reaction to it? And again, they're just rumors. Scott mentioned something about maybe negotiations are stalled already, but update us on what you know, Scott.
Yeah, so it first got broke earlier today that there were talks between Disney and 21st Century Fox to acquire the entertainment division of Fox, because Fox has been saying for a while they kind of want to jettison the pure entertainment division and stick with sports and news because their news channel is doing okay, I guess. So discussions were going on a couple weeks ago, actually, and this kind of falls into place because we know that Disney has just announced that they're going to do a streaming service, and they have a lot of cash on hand, which for big companies, they don't like cash on hand. So Disney is going to acquire somebody sooner or later. It's why they acquired ABC and ESPN back in the 90s for the same reason. They had a lot of cash, and they decided to buy something. But Bloomberg put out another story a couple hours ago saying that the talks had already stalled and they were on hold. The other thing I read was actually Disney is not interested in the Marvel properties. I mean, they would get the Marvel properties, but really what they want is they want Fox's back catalog of TV shows because for their streaming service. So they want The Simpsons, Futurama, Family Guy, and all the stuff going back to the late 80s when Fox came around as a network. They want all of those shows so they can beef up their streaming service.
I got you. That makes sense. To the Baileys, any reaction from you guys?
Oh, thank you. I think it would be amazing. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Fox is not going to give up all that stuff. I just don't see them as doing it. I could be wrong. But I think it would be amazing. Maybe Marvel will get it back and they'll be able to fix the X-Men movies. Please, for the love of God, fix the X-Men movies. That's a 20-year commitment. Oh, I know. But I really want it to happen. But it would be great. It would be great. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I will give them this. The recent adaptations, recent X-Men movies, I don't know your opinion of them. I do think that they have gotten better. Definitely a big dip with Apocalypse. But,
you're being gracious.
I'm being very judicious. Although during Thor, I saw the New Mutants trailer, and I kind of avoided it, knowing that I would see it on the big screen. And I think that's like the first comic book movie where I'm going to be too scared to go see it. So
I think the movie is going to be great with the New Mutants. I can already tell what direction they're going in. I'm excited to see how it's all going to play out. The full disclosure, asylum aspect of it and everything. That's the only little part that I'm a little weary of. But in regards to the X-Men movies, I've got a vendetta ever since they ruined my favorite X-Men, Rogue.
Yeah.
And so after that, they have gotten a little bit better.
I get it. Bailey, you got any, or Jeremy Bailey? Gosh, this is going to get tough. You got any other comments on this possible rumor?
Absolutely. I hate to pull out the Kevin Smith so early. I do, but they have to figure out where the puck is going. Outside of, I love the product placement, by the way. Our good friends at the Lincoln Film Festival. Oh, that warms my heart.
I'm drinking beer out of it, by the way.
That's even better. That's even better. I'll raise a glass of ginger ale. Okay. Outside of, okay, so I'm trying to start out with what I like because I'm learning, becoming an efficient communicator. It's compliment, what the, so I have to segue into that. And right now, loving the what's our Fox show? What are we watching? Gifted?
The Gifted. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, out of the gate. So they got The Gifted. They've got Deadpool. But outside of those two properties, where's the puck going for Fox right now? I think that they are hurting from, everybody's hurting from Netflix right now. Everybody, because you can binge and watch and hang out in that ecosystem forever. And I don't hear a lot of people just in popular culture, Fox has got this great show, Fox. It's all Disney. And I think that the powers that be need to find out where the puck's going and capitalize on it. Now, if that means that there's a merger, or we can have something like this, I'm super pumped about it. But I think, again, compliment, WTF. It's where are they going if they don't do this? What's next?
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm usually the pessimist of the group, but I think this is going to happen because Fox has said they want to get rid of the entertainment division. It's not making them any money. For every tentpole X-Men film they have that makes a few $100 million, they have a lot of losers. So Fox is going to get rid of the entertainment division. It just depends on who the biggest buyer is going to be, who gets it.
Yeah, and Disney's a pretty possible buyer. I mean, Universal will probably jump in the mix only because Comcast wants to try to keep up with Disney in trying to own the world. So, but thank you guys and again, that's all just speculation, rumors. We wanted to put it at the top. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about, what the ladies' shirt says. We are here talking about Thor Ragnarok. I want to go right into first impressions. You all should have seen the movie by now. This is a very spoiler-heavy review of this, so spoilers will be starting in 3, 2, 1, now.
Almost everyone dies.
Sure. Yeah.
It's
so
true. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Let's go ladies first here and say, AJ, would you go ahead and give your first impressions of Thor Ragnarok?
By far the funniest Marvel film I've seen, which that speaks volumes. And I think it's almost the first buddy comedy, if you will, for Marvel. And I really appreciated that aspect. They pulled a lot from deep in the comic books, bringing a lot of that forward. They stayed true to some things. That being said, I was missing the emotion. I missed the emotion in it. I mean, there was a lot of big, heavy things that I should have at least seen a tear. I mean, come on, or something. I mean, from Odin to the end where you see your entire world just, I mean, there should have been something. I think the only thing we got was like a fist clenching from Thor, and that was the only real emotion we got from it. And that was the only thing I was really missing. But, I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. And it, in and of itself, that's me.
Jeremy?
I was still trying to get your hashtag because it's a disease, so I apologize. I'm over up on the tweeter, but I don't know how to work these things. I had to look at you too when you said the funniest because I thought about it in my quiet time today, and Guardian steals my heart. What's wrong with you with the quiet time?
Yeah, it's fine.
No, I did not say.
Home-life balance homework balance is a really important virtue in society.
Yeah. But no, I was thinking about it, and Guardians always steals my heart. It does. It starts out with humor. This last one was heartstrings as far as the things transpired. But this, man, I want to say it's the funniest movie that I've seen all year next to Guardians, and it happens to be a Marvel property. I think it stands alone in a sense that you do not have to have the entire backstory. You can go in and watch it as it is, and there's enough content, and the narrative is told in a way that's amazing. I don't want to do the injustice to the director, but I love his work in I Know What to Do in the Dark, the New Zealand comedy. I actually thought him talking was Rhys Darby, and AJ had to correct me. And I was like, damn, that really was. It wasn't Rhys Darby, but let me grab it here.
He played Korg, by the way, yes, the rock guy.
Here we go. I don't want to ruin his name. Takai Waititi?
Close enough.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm actually falling more in love with it than I did last night when I saw it because I've been, much like you, probably doing a little research and seeing, what we missed or what do we have. And not to mention it being, outside of knowing all this, being one of the funniest films, also female superhero led, like that is amazing. And it's not overly sexualized, which I love. These women were powerful, they were badasses, and they were not wearing like clothes like they worked at Hooters. And it's something that young girls can look up to.
The Valkyries were actually fully clothed. It was like, what?
Yeah. Then I started digging in deeper to find out that there are two John Hughes inspired scenes that had to get cut out just because of timing. So to know that you can do the action, the comedy, tell the story like that and wrap in some John Hughes, done. Take all my money.
See, that would have ruined it for me, is throwing in the John Hughes. Not saying I don't like John Hughes, but it would take me too much out of that universe. But that's
no, because the way that it was supposed to be portrayed is you see young Thor, young Loki, and there's a bully situation, and it leads to just the way that Thor approaches Loki and sees it from a more mature aspect of he's basically he's a bully, and I need to mentally learn how to work through this rather than physically.
Yeah, for sure. Scott, your first impressions.
I've been waiting for a He-Man movie for over 20 years, and I got myself a He-Man movie.
Yeah.
That's basically, if I ever actually get a Masters of the Universe, it better kind of look like that. No, I enjoyed it. I think it's one of the better MCU films. I'll give it. I'll kind of rank it after I see it again. I agree that it definitely went full tilt Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think maybe it tilted a little too much, because I do believe that Guardians is a better film, both 1 and 2. And I think Guardians 1 and 2 are funnier than Thor. And I think it's because Guardians don't try to be funny. Thor almost went to the side of camp a couple times. And when it went campy, I agree with AJ. I lost the emotion at that point when it went full tilt camp. That being said, the banter between Hulk and Thor and between Banner and Thor are both great. I agree that Valkyrie was a badass. I think Jess Thompson is one of those people that was kind of designed at birth to be attractive, because she's also in Westworld, and God, I love that woman. But yeah, I also like where this is taking it. I mean, we have been stuck on Asgard for 2.5 films now, and Thor has been the weakest of the series. I think most people would agree with that Thor is the weakest of the series, and that has changed now, because if we even get another Thor film, it's not going to be on Asgard. It'll probably be in Oklahoma, if you read the comics. And I like the fact that it ties us directly into Infinity War, with the obvious inclusion of several nods to Thanos at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean,
absolutely.
I really enjoyed the film. It's just, I think they skirted the line there for me, and sometimes they did well, and sometimes they didn't.
It is so hard for me to even try to quantify, to rank any of the MCUs anymore. It's just getting so convoluted. But I would say easily in the top half, and that's saying that I still really enjoyed the film, because I really enjoyed the films that Marvel are putting out. A weird observation that I had immediately as I was leaving the theater on Thursday night was that it made me really excited for Ready Player One, because I get that that's Spielberg and totally different company and everything, but it made that video game reality, because there's so many instances where even the underscoring in Thor was like Mario music, or 80s arcade music, and it just for some reason, I know that that's a weird connection to make, but it made it to where I'm just really excited to see the Oasis, But
we talked about that today. AJ's like, "What are you trying to say?" I said, "Baby, you gotta read the book."
Yeah, you got to read that book.
I disagree with reading the book. What I tell you is listen to the audio read by Will Wheaton, because it's read by Will Wheaton.
I asked her, she don't like it, because I listened to it 3 times, thrice.
No, I'm just not into audiobooks. I like books that I can actually physically.
Then you should read it before it comes out. But as far as Thor goes, I echo a lot of the comments that you guys had. I really enjoyed the film. I did think on some level, the first spin around in front of the fire monster was very funny. The second spin around got just a little tedious. Just things like that, But I posted that I just had a stupid grin on my face the whole time. And in a way, because I had read some of the early reviews, it wasn't as unexpected as Guardians, and that's why I wouldn't say that it was as good as Guardians for me. But I thoroughly enjoyed the film. That being said, for the purposes of conversation tonight, I'm going to at least try to put out some of the defectors of this film, which is hard to find. But things like, was this just them trying to do Planet Hulk and failing, which I don't agree with. But just stuff like that. I am going to kind of sprinkle some of that on, just so we can always be told that we're Marvel fanboys in the end of the day, and fangirls.
For you though,
yeah.
if you had seen Thor Ragnarok before you saw any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, would you have ended up liking Thor better than Guardians of the Galaxy, or would you still like Guardians of the Galaxy?
So Guardians is weird for me because if this makes any sense to you at all, I've tried to explain it to people and it doesn't make sense. It's not my top Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, but it's in my top 5 movies of all time. Because to me, that movie transcends Marvel. And it mainly is because I didn't know the characters going into it, and I thought James Gunn just captured me so quickly. And I always say that it's the Star Wars for our generation. Now, like, we have Star Wars again, I get that, but like as far as a new story, a new group of people coming together and kind of that space opera feel, I just think James Gunn just mastered it. So I don't know that, like, if it was out of order, if I would feel any differently about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And to answer the question, for me, I definitely would like Guardians more because, like I said, I think their humor was a little better. But let's be clear. If we didn't have Guardians, we would not get this movie, because this movie is a direct result of them seeing that Guardians and Guardians 2 worked, and so we move into this realm, which is a good thing. But without Guardians, you would not have Ragnarok.
Yeah, so usually this is the point in time where we start to talk about some of the characters that we enjoyed. Obviously, we can hit on Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston and all that, but I want to just focus more on a couple of the newer characters, and then I think we can move into like our favorite scenes and things that we really enjoyed in the movie. So the very first thing I'd like to talk about is Cate Blanchett as probably one of the best villains Marvel has ever produced. I mean, Hela was amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were talking about Matt Damon.
I do love Matt Damon. He was incredible. That cameo, it was so funny because it was so unexpected. Because then you got the doctor, Dr. Grant or whatever from Jurassic Park too.
Sam Neill.
Yeah, it was just incredible. Anyway, sorry, Hela. We're gonna talk about Hela, and she was hella good in this movie. So, Scott, we'll start with you. Any comments on Cate Blanchett?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that helped her is we got more time with her than we usually get with Marvel villains. Marvel has been known to have some pretty weak villains, and part of that is we spend so much time with the heroes that we don't get to know them. But Hela got a lot of screen time, a lot of screen time, and I think her motivation was stronger than most. Much like Loki in Avengers, she has actually a reason to be there. She's not like the guy from Guardian. As much as I like Guardians, she's not like the guy from Guardians 1 who is just there to swing his hammer around and be pissy. She has a reason to be there. I like the fact that she is extremely powerful. She is, and Kevin Feige has said this in interviews, she is the strongest villain in the MCU that we have run into, which is why, unfortunately, she kills the Warrior 3 in like 5 minutes, just to kind of prove that fact. I also don't think we've seen the last of her. I think, for those who have read the comics, Thanos courts death, and we don't really have death in the MCU, but now we have the goddess of death. So I think Thanos is going to go for Hela.
I could see that happening for sure. AJ, any comments on Cate Blanchett?
I thought she was good. I enjoyed her, and I enjoyed the power that she brought to the role and her motivations. I know she isn't, in the comics, technically Odin's daughter, but I think the way they made it work just really worked. I feel like they didn't actually, the one thing they didn't address with her was I saw in the painting on the ceiling in the big palace hall is she's got Thor's hammer. Mm-hmm. But they did just, no, we're going to ignore that. I feel like they kind of ignored that a little bit, but her as a character, I enjoyed. I knew why she did the things, like you were saying. She had strong motivations, and she was strong, a strong female villain. I've seen lots of weak female villains, like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and some other Marvel properties, but no, like Madame Hydra, either in the show or Viper in Wolverine. What was it, Origin or just the Wolverine? So seeing a good, strong female villain was awesome.
Jeremy, any additional comments?
Absolutely. I'm pulling some stuff up right now. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah. Well,
somebody's got to be.
If anything, we are accurate. That's for sure.
While he's pulling that up, on the follow up on the Mjolnir, whatever, and Hela, I agree with you. They didn't touch on it too much, but I definitely got the sense in a couple scenes that Hela was pretty pissed off that Thor was her replacement. And she pointed out a couple times that when I got too powerful, Odin just replaced me with you. And I think that her holding the hammer and her destroying the hammer was kind of a nod to that. But I agree with you. They probably could have put a little bit more to that to make her more of like the ostracized person. But Thor did the same thing too to her. He said, Odin casted you out. And I think the whole point was there, she was challenged by Odin much like Thor was. Thor rose to the challenge. She did not.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, before I go to you, just a thought that I've been thinking about is 2017 really, if there was any complaint about the Marvel movies, and there's still detractors out there and everything, but it was mainly that the villains were not very good. And if you think about it, the 3 films that we got this year had some of the best villains we've had. It had Ego, who was very well developed and almost pulled at your heartstrings for half that movie before crushing them. And then we had the Vulture. Michael Keaton played a fantastic villain all throughout that film. And now we finish up with Cate Blanchett. I just think that this was Marvel's year to address that fact. And then also they talked about how there was no strong female characters in these Marvel movies. Well, look at Tessa Thompson in this movie. You know, she was fantastic. And not only was she fantastic, I want to transition to her next, but she also was flawed in so many ways, and it came across so well. But before we go to her, I do want Jeremy to have a chance to talk about Cate Blanchett.
We waited, I think, 3 movies to be extremely comfortable with Robert Downey Jr. in his suit. He's always been Tony Stark. That's his whole life. He's, without being too forward and saying silver spoon, we know the story. Like, he got whatever he wanted. And Cate Blanchett, from my understanding, the Dark World franchise isn't the exact same of standing in front of a screen and making all this up. And the fact that she jumped into it and she owned it, I mean, I don't know what it was as far as like casting process or the inspiration for her getting this role, but she owned it in the first minutes. You were out of your mind. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you mean? We were, I looked at AJ and I was like, is that Bones? Is that Bones? Carl Urban. And it was like, I think that there's a lot of dudes that would do that if faced with that.
I want to talk about Carl Urban later because I think he does a fantastic job in this film.
But yeah, I was like, is that Bones? We probably all act like that. We'd lose our minds. Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is that Odin dies, right? Like he says, like, you guys got to prepare for the. You guys got to prepare for this, and then.
Yep.
There you go. She's back. You know, like it's like in the same cut. You know, like, how are you going to prepare for that? There's just this portal immediately that opens. So it's just really funny that like, because I kind of thought maybe there'd be a little bit of buildup to her coming, none at all, and she just kicked ass from the very beginning.
Oh, absolutely. I think our last as viewers, our last I don't want to say having trouble with words here. Long day, but. The last villain that we saw in a cinematic universe was Suicide Squad, and it was the Enchantress. Just to look from A to B, it's not even the same ballpark. Now, I'm not saying that one actress is more trained than the other.
I'll say it.
One.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and put that one on the line.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to make anybody mad, but I will say this: you can tell when someone is ready to go full throttle and make a character their own, and Cate Blanchett did that. And I really look forward to seeing her in future properties. I do hope I do hope that she's Thanos' wife. her love interest, whatever you're going to say, because she can strike fear into the heart of an army with just looking at them, and not just be like a figurehead, like actually deliver. I was a little apprehensive watching the full-on just blow for blow just punches that were happening in this movie, and to see the hell just not take it but just give it back, it was awesome. It was
yeah,
great.
For sure. Let's jump right into Tessa Thompson. I don't want to spend so much time on the characters because I do want to get into our scenes and how this fits into the MCU. So Tessa Thompson, Scott, you mentioned already your affinity for her. So you go ahead and start us off.
I like her a lot. No, I mean, the nice thing about her is we knew from the trailers she was a Valkyrie, but the way they introduce her and everything else, even, and this is where I would say the movie goes a little too campy when she falls off the ramp at the beginning. That was a little bit too much for me, but she plays it well. Even when she has to do the shtick like that, she's definitely, as Craig, you said, she's a damaged individual, and we have to learn why she's damaged. I also loved her back and forth with Hulk, and more like she treated Hulk like a pet more than anything else. Mm-hmm. But no, she's a very strong woman character. I'm hoping that she is going to be a mainstay in MCU with Thor now.
I mean, froze for a second.
What?
For a second, we're going to wait for you to come back.
Okay, well, we're live, but okay.
So who cares about your feed?
Hi, two viewers.
Sorry, go on.
Okay, Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, so Bailey, let's go ahead and go to you, Sir Bailey.
I really enjoyed Tessa and Dear White People. I thought it was a very strong female role, like basically doing what she wanted to do with gravitas, just very strong. And I actually liked the fact that they played it very hard with her jumping in, being an alcoholic, or drowning her feelings in, drowning her feelings in this. And I'd counterpoint Scott's. It's like, if you're gonna, this is normally a role that you would see like a drunk uncle take, where they're just like reckless, but then all of a sudden they turn around, they shine. And I don't think this has been done before, where you reverse the roles and this person may not be together. And it wasn't, she is attractive, but it's not like that she's all that situation where like, oh, she takes her glasses off, she's a beautiful woman. I love the tone, how it changes, how she's just she's so rough and tumbled, and this, I keep saying this drunk uncle phase, and then she kind of sobers up and realizes that she needs to be a part of something greater. I love seeing this story told through, using her as a vehicle, just because I've never seen it done before. I think she knocked it out of the park. I mean, at the end of the movie, you're rooting for her. Like, she pretty much gave you every reason to write her off in the beginning, and then now she's, the tide has turned for everybody.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. So also in this film, you've got a great acting job by Carl Urban. So I do. Oh, and you know what, AJ, I'm sorry, I didn't let you chime in on Tessa Thompson. So go ahead and do that.
I feel like she didn't really give up the drunk uncle thing. Like, she still got her drink on. I feel like she did not give that up, which is fine by me. I love the fact that she could go toe-to-toe with Thor. Mm-hmm. She was just as badass as Thor was, or is, rather, and I want to see more from her. I don't feel like I really got to know her. You know what I mean? She had some really cool scenes, really cool visual things going on with the fireworks and everything else, and some good fight scenes, but I don't feel like we got to really know her. That would be my only, I don't know, I guess, thing wrong I have with her. Because I want to know her, motivations other than, you know, I'm pissed off she hella killed all my friends. You know what I mean? I just want to get to know her more than just the drunk buddy thing. Like, as it goes to it being almost a, you know, a buddy comedy, buddy cop type movie. So why they did it, but I want to see more from her.
I get that. Carl Urban. We're going to go ahead and start with AJ since I skipped you last time. As Scourge. So talk to me about what you feel he brought to the performance and if you enjoyed the performance, because he's the guy you should hate. And he, in my sense, he even still had a little bit of love in him. So go ahead and talk about him.
Yeah, no, there was no way to hate him. There was absolutely no way. He didn't actually, well, he never killed anybody, you know what I mean? Like any of the Asgardians, really. And the entire time he was on screen, you could see in his eyes the conflict, the trying to go back and forth in his mind and his brain and his heart, you know, between, do I follow her? Do I not? What should I do? Like the entire movie, I could see that. And he did a really good job portraying that because, you know, Executioner is not 100%, you know, a bad guy. I mean, I would love to have seen, you know, Enchantress in there, the Marvel Enchantress, of course, with him. And that's been always how it should be. But I think he did a good job. He brought comedy to it, which I knew he would. And he definitely looked the part. I mean, that's one thing we can all agree on, I'm sure. He looked,
absolutely.
That was great. I'm glad he got some redeeming qualities, you know, in the end. But I think he did an all right job.
Good. Scott.
Yeah, no, I always like Carl Urban. He's my Dr. McCoy because I don't have DeForest Kelly anymore. But
and your Judge Dredd?
Yes, which they're making a Judge Dredd TV show, and he is saying he would do it if they give him enough money. So please give him enough money. But I think he did a very good job of showing us, even without saying too much, that he was definitely torn the entire time. So when he makes the turn at the end and sacrifices himself to save the refugees, it's not out of the blue. And in fact, they almost held it too long because you knew he was going to do it. And I think they gave him one or too many beats of him looking forlorn before he pulled out the assault rifles. Now, that is the one, and I know we're not talking about scenes yet, but I feel like I have to hit on this. The joke about getting the 2 assault rifles from Texas was a little too on the nose. I know they filmed this a year ago, and it was already released when, unfortunately, what happened happened. But that was kind of rough to have in the film, and it's not his fault. It's just it was a little bit rough. But yeah, no, I mean, I really enjoyed the Executioner. I mean, you're right. He definitely looks like him. It looks like Urban kind of either put on a lot of armor or beefed up a little bit for the role, and he definitely looked pretty good throughout the film. And and it was nice to have that kind of connection. So Hela's not just talking to herself throughout the movie, and he's able to be that redemption story we have for a moment. And you do bring
up a good point though about going back to the guns, because it is the world we live in. So I mean, it could have been something that they could have predicted. Unfortunately, would have been potentially an issue when they did that.
The joke is there is Texas loves their guns. It's because I saw it today, and it's 2 days after it happened. It's a little bit raw, and again, a year from now it won't matter. But it was just like, ugh. And I agree. I would love to see Executioner again, but I am okay with seeing him go the way he went because, again, he sacrificed himself when, as Hela pointed out, all he really wanted was notoriety. Well, he got his notoriety. He is the savior of that ship with all of the Asgardians.
For sure. Jeremy.
Just looking forward to the summer tour. I haven't figured out if he's going to play rhythm for Aaron Lewis from Stained or bass for Disturbed. I haven't.
I like that.
I think he's down with the sickness. I do. All jokes aside, he played it close to the chest. He did. The character from point A to point B, piggybacking off the more beautiful and intelligent wife saying about we knew where this was going. I don't know. I guess I see too much bones in it, but I'm happy that he was in the movie. And Scott, if nothing would have happened as far as the Texas thing, Texas has loved their guns for 100 years, man. I mean, they can't like recut the movie.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it kind of pulls you out right now. And it's not, they wrote the movie a year ago, 2 years ago. So it's not his fault. It's not Marvel's fault. It's just a little raw. And so it was kind of rough to watch that today.
You know what? I think our perception was different because we basically played in a pillow fort all day. We spent time with each other. We went to a movie and went to dinner, and then we get home and we see our news feed flooded, with all this stuff. So we had no idea that the incident actually happened. So that's why our perception is much different than you.
And that's why I said a year from now it won't matter. Unfortunately, it should matter, but it won't. It's just that was one scene that kind of pulled me out of the film because I'm sitting there watching it, and as soon as he says it, I go, ugh, yeah. Because those are.
So the guns are something from the comic books.
Oh yeah.
Assault rifles. I mean, that is a great comic book panel with him with those. Just amazing.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with the Asgardians having firepower. I mean, they're an advanced race. They're probably not just going to use spears. So I'm all right with that. It's just,
when he was in Hell, obviously fighting Hela and everything like that in the comic books, and he ended up picking up this other guy's guns, Parrish or something, and it was these two like assault rifles, and he used those to start attacking people. So they took that from the comics, and I love that.
Yeah, it's always good when they grab directly from the source material. So last actor I want to talk about as far as new characters, then we'll move into scenes and what didn't work. I am going to have an unpopular opinion here, and I know I'm going to, so I'm going to go first. I thought Jeff Goldblum was a little too Jeff Goldblum-y for this role.
Oh my God, I totally agree with you.
I don't think it's an unpopular opinion. I think that's everyone's opinion.
I mean, like when you see Benicio, what'd you say?
He agreed to do the movie because he got to be himself. You realize that?
Right. I mean, when you see Benicio del Toro as the Collector, and he pulls that off really well, and here's the Grand Master Jeff Goldblum, and it was just it was almost like you said, Bailey, he just went on set and just was himself. I don't know, there were moments, and then also you talked about, Scott, the too much just cranking that dial to 11 on the funny meter, and some of those jokes just didn't hit for me, when he's talking about why are you getting the hot pokey stick or whatever. That joke just didn't hit for me. And there was a couple of instances with Jeff Goldblum where, I'm glad that he was in the movie. Obviously the character was for the most part done well. It had to be there, I guess, but he just wasn't what I was hoping for. So I can't remember. I think I went Scott first last time, so let's go Jeremy, Bailey first this time.
Thanks for the formal. I appreciate it.
Jeremy, Bailey.
That's why I did it. I was the whole time he was squirming. What do I? Yes, no, what? Yes. I was hoping Geckner would be in here, so it's Jeremy, no, yes, Geckner, what? Bailey, yes. Just a big old circle.
That would have been terrible. Thank you for that.
Who's on first? But
well, if Jeremy if Geckner was here, he would have been hosting and he would have been talking the whole time. None of us would have got a word in, so it's fine.
Filibusters? No.
Anyway, go ahead.
I gotta ask you though. Take Jeff Goldblum out of the situation and drop Christopher Walken in. What are you gonna get?
Christopher Walken.
Okay, is that too much Walken?
Yeah, any role he's in anymore is too much Walken.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So with Jeff Goldblum, how many characters have you seen him play? He plays Jeff Goldblum.
Who do I recast in that role? You know who I recast? You know who I recast in that role in a completely different sense?
Anyone but Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Bridges.
He looks
That's who I put in that role.
Okay, I could see that, Jeff Bridges. I could see that.
He's kind of Ironmonger already, but sure.
Well, but that movie doesn't exist, so it's fine. Well, I guess that was the first one, wasn't it?
That was Iron Man 1.
I'm sorry. That movie definitely exists.
I think he did it justice. I think he also made it sexually ambiguous just because of the way that they put a lot of ladies with him. However, with the rhythm that he's moving and the turntables and everything, you know that he seems very he takes what he wants because he's already isn't he he's part of the elders, right? Yeah. So
he's the collector's brother.
What's that?
He's the collector's brother.
Yeah, and aren't they part of the larger group?
They're Eternals. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's seen a lot, done a lot. He can do whatever he wants.
Apparently, his favorite decade is the '80s. Still,
I think that I enjoyed his character. We have a family member that I want to Photoshop into this outfit, and I'm very excited to see what it looks like and show it to him. But going into it, you got to look at it and say it's Jeff Goldblum. He's going to give you, he's going to give you Jeff Goldblum, and he's going to dial it up to 10. And he also got to ad-lib like half this movie. So that's very important when looking at it and saying, okay, was he directed to say the character looks, acts, this is the aura of this actor, or is he just like, hey, you're Jeff Goldblum. I'm super pumped you're in my movie. You do whatever you want to do, and this is what we get.
Yeah. AJ?
I definitely agree. He played Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, and I think I would have been more okay with it if he had actually demonstrated some of the actual powers that the Grandmaster has.
Yeah, right.
He showed none of these powers.
You mean DJing's not a power in the comic books?
Yeah, apparently not. In the comic book, he does have the mastery of technology. He's got the most advanced technology out there. I understand that. And they put some of that in there. But I wanted to see him with the massive power that he's supposed to have. And he didn't show that to me. And to me, that kind of, it just detracted from the character. He was funny. I enjoyed him for being just a character in itself. But if you want to go back to staying true to the comic, staying true to the character, I needed more power. That's what I needed.
Scott?
Yeah, sorry, Jeremy. No. when you put Jeff Goldblum into a role, you get Jeff Goldblum. That's why you don't put Jeff Goldblum in the role. One of the things and he is the weakest character for me in this entire movie, and one of the things that pulls me out of this movie the most is every time he's on screen. Every single time he shows up, I'm watching every other Jeff Goldblum character ever, and that's not what I want to see in this. You could have casted anybody in this role. Sam Neill, hey, he was already on set. Cast anybody who doesn't ham it up, and you say the same thing. What if you put Christopher Walken in there? You don't. You don't put him in that role. You don't put Jeff Goldblum in that role. You put somebody who can actually act in that role. Because, Grandmaster is going to play a part in the celestial part of the MCU, I'm assuming. So now we have to go back to him. And every time he shows up, he's going to annoy the hell out of me. And they've already shown us in Eternal with the Collector and Benicio del Toro, and he was fine. He was still goofy. He played it goofy, like he's probably been alive for a couple million years, and his brain's a little mush now. But he didn't grate on me. He didn't annoy the hell out of me like Jeff Goldblum did. So it was the worst part of the film for me was Jeff Goldblum.
Totally. Well, let's transition into the best part of the film for you. So let's go ahead and go through our scenes, and I want to make sure we keep this to a nice, tight episode here. And let's go to Scott first. So try to be brief in your favorite scenes.
I will do one scene so people don't have their scenes stolen, and then we can come around again maybe. I won't take an obvious one, but one of the things I liked about this was the interactions between, as I already mentioned, Thor and Hela. And I kind of already hit on the fact that I like the sibling rivalry there, and the fact that she feels that she was replaced by him. And so the times in the throne room where they're fighting and going back and forth with each other was really good. And it shows that Hemsworth can hold his own film, which I felt in Thor 1, but I did not feel in Dark World. So I think he's back to being a leading actor in his own film, which is good.
Yeah, AJ?
I loved seeing Thor just go all out in the ending fight scenes with the lightning and just that to me was amazing. I'm not usually one to just fall in love with fight scenes, but I've been waiting to see that Thor. Not just that Thor in that scene, but also in the beginning of the film when he's fighting Surtur and all the little demony guys. Like, I've been waiting to see that kind of Thor action-packedness for however many Avengers, Marvel, Thor movies there have been. So that was amazing to finally get to see that. That I really loved, and I loved the Hulk and the Thor interaction. I mean, there's not one specific scene besides those that really stands out to me as being, oh my God, this was the greatest thing ever. But I just loved seeing Thor just go all the frick out, man.
For sure, and he did that a lot in this film, right?
He went full on Raiden. It was great.
He did go full on Raiden, even with the hat. Jeremy Bailey.
Wanted safe passage into the demon's butthole.
Oh,
Yes, the devil's anus.
The devil's anus.
I'm sorry. Butthole. And, the movie was visually gorgeous. Oh my God. Even the just the scene for like 15 seconds with the war with the Valkyrie and Helena and how everything just pieced together. This was actually the first time that I dug the 3D experience. Normally, it's not worth it at all, but just to see everything put together so beautifully was worth it. The comic relief of the Hulk acting like a 10-year-old, that was just one of my favorites.
He hops up on that
great.
little bed of his and goes, no.
Yeah, just back and forth. Just it was, you know, the broken sentences that I'm used to seeing from the cartoons growing up, and even to see Banner and he's scared to death, and he's just I want to you know, he's like, this is 2 years, and it puts that human element on it where every other Hulk movie that we've seen, and I also want to comment on the way that the Hulk reflected Mark Ruffalo. It was just a souped up, you know, HGH testosterone replacement, you know, on 100 times or whatever. But just to see this, he visually looked like Ruffalo. How you doing, bud? It's okay. It's all right. I'll say hello. But just I think. Actually, he might have been my favorite part. Mark Ruffalo and the transformations back and forth. My favorite scene, I guess, was watching him come down, because every other movie that we've seen, there's the human element is lacking, and it's just he gets really big, smashes stuff, and then he comes down, and he never actually talks about what happened. Like, did I black out? What happened? And just to hear he wakes up, and it's almost like he's in a drunken stupor, and he's like, what happened to all these people? You know, what's going here, what's going there, and I love the fact that they
How's Sarkovia?
Oh yeah. How's it going? How are the people?
Did we say the city? No, not really. No.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's just to say that he's like, I might not come back, and then it just adds that another layer of you know, to humanize that they're two split personalities. When everyone just thinks, oh well, maybe he goes to sleep for a little bit. It's like, no, different guy, Jekyll and Hyde, just like that.
Well, I think one of the things they stressed in the movie was that this is the first time it had happened. Because I think he said, you know, most of the times Hulk's at the wheel, but I'm still in there and I know what's going on. But this was the first time him being on this crazy planet of champions and all this other stuff was the first time he was like, I have no freaking idea what the hell just happened.
And he was so revered, like as the champion, he had no reason to come back. Ruffalo had we might have not ever seen him again. Banner, forgive me.
Well,
we might not have ever seen Banner had we not seen the scene with the Black Widow. And I don't want to reveal anymore because I think I'm going to try and follow your questions, and I'm not going to answer a question that hasn't been asked yet. I'm going to pause and I'm going to let somebody else go through.
Couple things
well,
on
that. Well,
that.
Somebody else is me. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, going on the visualization, this is a love letter to Jack Kirby, without a doubt.
It is.
This is. They decided we're going to take everything that Jack Kirby did in his style and put it on film, and it went great on that.
On the 100th anniversary too.
Absolutely, and the other thing too with Hulk, because I think it was important to have that scene in there where Banner says, I may not come back if I go to the Hulk again because he's now in full control, which makes his sacrifice even more when he jumps out of the spacecraft at the end, because he's realizing that may be Banner's death, because when the Hulk comes back, he may not ever leave.
Yeah, and that's going to be rough, too. And we don't ever see him go back to Banner, do we?
Nope, he's Hulk at the end.
So it could really be that he's gone for quite some time.
But he can't breathe, so we have to have that, because in order for them to meet the Guardians, he has to be whole. If Banner would just disintegrate, that's not possible. Even with the 7 PhDs, it ain't gonna save him in space.
What?
Even with Banner's 7 PhDs, those aren't gonna save him in space. He has to be the Hulk in order for us to continue with the storyline.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Well, we do know. I mean, we do know based on the leaked D23 trailer that it's kind of Thor that's at some point going to be floating around in space to run into the Guardians.
Yep.
I don't know if I just spoiled the D23 trailer to anybody.
The fact that Disney is too stupid to release their trailers, nothing we can do about that.
Yeah. So my favorite scene, I want to give some love to my man, Benedict Cumberbatch, because for everything that we were saying about it being a little too much, that scene was so amazing, because here's Thor, who in these 2 movies, you have had this character that, you know, is a god, and it's showing some of those human sides, but not necessarily the vulnerable sides that he has to him. And here he is just like tripping all over himself and everything else. And then it's just capped at the end in that scene where Tom Hiddleston yells out, I've been falling for 30 minutes. It's the best. God, I love it so much. And even just like the little Sherlock nod at the beginning of it, even with the music and showing the note, and then the 100, you know, basically Baker Street. I can't remember what his actual street is, but
177A Baker Street.
Yeah. So fantastic. Fantastic all around. I really enjoyed that scene. Now, I want to go maybe a bit rapid fire and say, is there anything else that you would like to mention? Scott, you said you had plenty to mention.
Yeah, just a couple other ones to throw out. As much as I complain about Jeff Goldblum, the Willy Wonka scene is amazing. Absolutely. Where he's in the chair and they're playing the Willy Wonka music as he's going through the tunnel. I think that is just an LSD trip waiting to happen. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good humor in this. There's a lot of scenes that stand out because they made me laugh. One other one I will throw out, because we were talking about Tessa Thompson earlier as well. Yes, she is, as you guys put it, the drunk uncle for most of it, but there's the scene at the arena where Thor and Hulk are fighting, where she's up in her ship kind of watching, and you can see that she gets excited when Thor starts winning the fight. Like, she's realizing that maybe there's a chance for her to get off this rock and maybe do what she needs to do to get back into good graces with herself. And then as soon as the Grandmaster takes Thor out with the little electrical doodad, she immediately goes back to drinking and gives up, because her one little glimmer of light goes away, and she plays that really well.
Did you get a Rick and Morty vibe when she hopped out of the spaceship and she's all drunk?
Yeah, for sure.
I picked up on that. Very
yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I've never watched it.
Well, that's sad.
I know. I hear this.
AJ.
Okay, pass and let somebody else go.
I will say this. Does anybody feel that the Black Widow-Hulk relationship is forced?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I think everyone in the world will agree to that.
So why is it that that's the one thing that pulls them down? Why is it the one
Because they had to go there.
Because, I mean, they established that so much in Ultron that was what would calm them down.
But come on, you gotta love that they made fun of it with Thor trying to do it over and over again. That was amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
And Loki yelling, "That's how it feels. That's how it feels."
That was amazing.
We didn't get to have the conversation in the full disclosure about Homecoming. Do you feel? Because I want to know if this was too much, if this was not enough. Because I feel that all of the characters within this and all the Easter eggs and all the peppering of continuity was just enough where I heard lots of complaints for Homecoming where it was too much of a Tony Stark vehicle.
Yeah, no, I think it was fine. I think Doctor Strange makes perfect sense. If you have an alien show up on the planet, he's going to deal with it. There was also a whole bunch of Easter eggs. Beta Ray Bill was on the side of the building as one of the champions. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't going to beat you over the head, but if you know what you're looking for, you're going to find it.
Tons of Easter eggs throughout, totally.
What's the guy's name? Korg? The rock guy?
Korg, yeah.
I feel like he was funny. It was good. But here was just too much of him.
I get that.
Too much.
Well, we found out what that was because that was the director.
Yes.
I know.
He got to start his own movie.
But in
Go
that
ahead.
same regard, though, it's just, okay, so you just literally took what we didn't do in the shadows and just threw that into this character and just... To me, it was just too much. I loved the character. I do. Very adorable. Very funny.
I thought it was Rhys Darby. I thought it was 100% Rhys
But
Darby.
I think he was just in it too much.
And, you know, after reading Planet Hulk and expecting when you see Korg in the trailer, they don't show him talking, I'm thinking he's just going to be the muscle. And so it's very interesting what they went with that character. I will say, though, one of my favorite laugh lines in the movie is at the end when he says the bug guy is dead. Oh, no, he's not dead. Go ahead and ask your question again. He's alive.
That was pretty good. We're going to go ahead and move into what didn't work for the film. We already talked about Jeff Goldblum, so he's off the table. Okay. So is there anything else that didn't work for you in this film? Go Jeremy Bailey.
I brought up the forced romance between Black Widow and Hulk. I think I don't think there were enough Asgardian characters. I think it doesn't work when you destroy his entire team. I think it forces the main characters. Like, we know what's coming. Like, we know the key players. Guardians are coming. You know, Avengers are going to assemble. But, I mean, don't those guys deserve a little bit of screen time too? I use the word guys loosely. To knock out your entire your
Warriors 3.
Yeah. To knock them out, like, that's garbage. Like, what are they defending? Are they going to make new soldiers on the plane? Like, because essentially, if you're defending your entire heritage and lineage, like, are you going to send an 18-year-old that has no idea what's going on? I mean, I wanted more of the. There was a character they left out. I gotta go through. Strong female
Lady
lead.
Sif, yes.
That's one, yeah.
Where the hell was Sif?
I needed.
She's in New York filming her TV show.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That Blind Spot show. Forgot.
Yeah, and they actually asked her to be on it, but she claims they gave her like a week's notice, and she was like, I can't leave my filming of my TV show with a week's notice. I can't do it.
To address it. I mean,
Well,
come on.
if that's the case, then give us a deeper backstory with Valkyrie. Give us a couple of Valkyrie, because I don't know how. I'm trying to look at this as a sense of there's a representative from each part of the realm that's fighting for this thing, and why are we invested? Why is the whole Asgardian civilization invested in this if they got two people?
Right.
Like, what else do you got? I need more.
I get that.
Over. So, yeah.
I get that.
And I agree with you. I mean, I did say I think Hela taking out the Warriors 3 was important to beefing up her character, but I love, especially Falstaff. I mean, I'm going to miss those guys, and they're gone. Feige was asked, do these guys repair themselves or regenerate? No, then he said these characters are dead, and they did that to beef Hela up very quickly and show that she is somebody who can kill easily. And I'm actually happy that Lady Sif was not in this, because that means maybe she's still alive. I want to see Jamie Alexander again. I still wish Jamie Alexander would have been cast for Wonder Woman, which is what Joss Whedon wanted way back in the day. So I want her back as Sith, but I want her to have more of a role than being killed, which is probably what would have happened if she could have made the cameo.
And if she was killed off camera, I'll be so pissed.
Yeah, no, she's obviously out there, and Because if they wanted to kill her, they would have said something about it. They're keeping her on the back table. Yeah.
Yeah, AJ, you got any things that didn't work for you?
Well, I think I've gone over a lot of the stuff that didn't work for me. Yeah, I think I've gone over a lot of stuff that didn't work for me. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Totally fine.
I really did enjoy the movie, though. I enjoyed it as a whole. I love that they gave Thor the umbrella, like the umbrella hammer.
Yes.
They couldn't cane.
Yes.
I know they couldn't do the cane, so it was a nice little nod to that. I think I stated at the very beginning is like I needed more emotion in this movie. I needed more emotion in it.
I agree.
So they brought in a gauntlet and
yeah, that was good, but I'm just saying like I needed more emotion in this, and it felt like Anthony Hopkins scenes were just throwaway. You know what I mean?
They were, and that was my biggest beef. Was
he just threw him away?
Yeah, he was not good in this movie at all. And
he was like Natalie Portman in this movie. Like you could tell he didn't want to be there.
That's so
yeah.
But that's how he read. Like, I do not want to be here. I'm just going to give up.
She ruined the movie. Ruined.
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
Not as much as Kat Jennings. The fact that Kat Jennings is nowhere in the franchise anymore makes me so very happy.
She's broke.
Oh, I can't stand that woman.
But let me talk. Scott, did I get around to you?
No,
yet?
But go ahead, Craig. I'll go after you.
So I have semantics. I have two brief ones. What didn't work for the movie for me was the trailer, because the trailer showed the entire Hulk Thor fight scene for the most part. Hated that. So that sucked going into it because I knew a lot of the reveal. I knew a lot of that stuff. It was cool 6 months ago when I saw it. It sucked for the movie. I hated that they put all that in the trailer.
It didn't happen in New York. What's the problem? It's a totally different landscape. Come on now.
Totally. And then my second beef with the movie is I am a fan and will stay for the after credit scene of every movie. But if they don't have one that's actually like getting to some point in some time, like this is the third or fourth one in a row that was just a joke, you know? And I mean, that's funny. The first, I guess they fooled me 3 times now, but it's like, come on, guys, just move the plot forward a little bit in these after credit scenes, or just don't do them, you know? Anyway, so those are my 2 beefs. Scott?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the after credits, and it's obvious that the one that's moving the plot forward is the fact that we get told that Asgard, the people of Asgard, are not on Earth yet, and Thanos has stopped them, which we can assume that means that Loki, and we know this because of the Comic-Con footage again, Loki took the Tesseract with him when he left Asgard. So Thanos is collecting his stones, and he's stopping the Asgardian ship because he knows the Tesseract is there. So that end credit scene or mid credit scene made perfect sense, and it was fine. But the last piece with Jeff Goldblum, mainly because I didn't like Jeff Goldblum, was annoying as hell. But no, the other things I would say is, again, there are some times where it goes into camp. And the nice thing about the MCU has been every movie can be a little different. We can have the space operas, we can have the heist films, and we can now have the trippy 80s film, and I'm okay with that. This is Zardoz with basically Thor in it. But you need to keep yourself a little grounded, and I think what AJ made a good point on this is it needed a little bit more emotion. I think if I would have had a little bit more of the Thor, Odin, Loki dynamic, and the fact that this is an estranged father to both of them, and now you interject a sister that no one knew about, and you also interject that if Hela is telling the truth, which it looks like she is, Odin wasn't as benevolent as he led on to be. And Craig, you pointed out too, I mean, this dude let himself die or transcend or whatever, knowing that immediately she was going to break out of whatever prison he had her in. You could have planned this out a little better and actually trained your kids a little bit more to be prepared. So he was definitely a deadbeat dad at the end, and I wanted to see that more.
Yeah, I get that. So I want to go ahead and move into our wrap-ups now and ask about rankings and what you give this out of 10. But before I do, I feel it's a shame that the name Idris Elba has not been brought up much this whole because he did just such a phenomenal job. And like, you know, he had that big spat with Marvel a couple years ago after Thor Dark World, saying that he wished he never signed the contract because they didn't give him enough screen time and blah, blah, blah. They made up for it in spades in this film. And he was Idris Elba. He was so good.
And after Dark Tower, he's very happy he has that contract.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So now let's go a ranking out of 10. What would you give this movie, Miss Bailey? Mrs. Bailey.
I was going to say we paid for that Mrs. Let's see. Jeremy. 7.5, 8.
Okay, I can see that.
I mean, it was a good movie overall. I have my complaints, obviously, but when it comes to a lot of different movies, they stray from the comic books so much. But this one had a lot from it, and that I respect. I mean, growing up, the first comic books I read were my dad's, and for whatever reason, mice or something ate up most of his other comic books except for his Thor comic books. That's what I would sit and read, is these old-ass Thor comic books. So I love seeing all that. I'm like, yes, that's there, and that's amazing. So I think that's the reason I give it the ranking that I do, and it was just a good time. And plus, we went with my dad to go see this movie last night, and my dad loved it. So that in and of itself, it warms my heart.
That's awesome. Jeremy.
I'm not even going to rank it.
What's
terrible? No, I'm just kidding.
You can do that again, but this time talking to the mic.
Tell me how to live my life. Listen.
There you go.
Jeremy, answer the question.
It ain't about me today. As far as it was my favorite comedy of the year, favorite Thor movie thus far, and overall looking at it for the whole MCU, I would put it at an 8. I really would, because it didn't end in a dark tone. I liked the storyline. I like how it just punched all the way through. I like the action, visually beautiful, so I'd have to give it an 8.
Awesome, Scott.
Yeah, I'm teetering between a 7 or 8, and I think part of it is because it came out in such a strong year for Marvel. I mean, this hasn't been a strong year for film, but for Marvel, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is one of the best MCU films to come out ever, and I think it still is the best one of the year. Homecoming was strong, and so Thor has to live up to that, and I think it did. But in another year that would have been a little less heavy, I think I probably would have given it a higher rating. But I'm going to say 7 or 8-ish, depending on where I am on it. I think it's definitely one of the best MCU films out there. And as much as I kind of complained about a few things, it rises above that. It was so much fun to watch.
And I'm going to give it a 6 out of 8 Thunder shirts.
You always have to screw up the rating, you punk.
I do, every single time. I had to keep it consistent because Geckner would have been mad at me. So, with that being said, I want to do a bit of plugging of these wonderful podcasts, local content. You know what? We can say, because it didn't really exist, that Jeremy Bailey's Lincoln Legends and the Farmer Movie Reviews, we tied for Best of Springfield this year. So congratulations, everybody.
Bite me, Illinois Times. Bite me.
There are no awards in podcasting, but my beautiful wife is on a show with me, so that's what I'm excited about.
That's fantastic. Where can they find your show, though, Bailey?
Just Google Lincoln's Legends at this point.
I guess, yeah.
We know a guy that's about a thing. Yeah. Just Google Lincoln's Legends at this point. I just put out an ad that will show you basically celebrating the 4 years of putting out all the content creation. And it's a 17-second clip, and at the end of the clip, you can just see this graphic coming towards you for Overcast and iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn Radio and anywhere that you enjoy your content. We've got, all the social networking websites. Just Google Lincoln's Legends. It's a lot easier.
And he's on Instagram.
Instagram, Facebook.
He's on all the things.
Yeah.
AJ, do you have anything you want to plug?
It's my husband.
No. No.
This isn't a Deadpool full disclosure.
There are podcasts for that too.
You know Morse code. Come find me.
Holy shoot.
That was the best. That might have been my favorite moment. I just interviewed an Academy Award winner, and that might be my favorite moment in podcasting. Scott,
I'm crying.
can
right
you
now.
give our plugs?
I love
Not
to.
those plugs.
After I'm done crying. Oh, okay. You can find us at thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. You can also email us at thefrontrowmoviereviews@gmail.com. You can find us on all your social media whereabouts by searching the Front Row Movie Reviews. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're checking us out on your podcast view of choice, holy crap, there were people in the chat room. I didn't even look.
Yeah,
Creeper. Hi, Creeper. I'm sorry. I didn't see you in here.
Please rank their show. Go to iTunes, and it means the world to rank the Front Row Movie Reviews. Just give them at least 1 star. Tell them if you like it.
No, don't give us 1 star. What are you doing?
For heaven's sakes.
Not everybody's going to love your thing, but
Okay.
at least you can say, hey, I enjoyed the episode.
Craig, can
Hey,
I run
they
through
did a
these
thing.
comments real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Creeper, who really follows us on our Star Trek Discovery podcast, which you can find on YouTube and on
You guys are
Front Row
crushing it,
Reviews.
by the way. I'm super pumped.
What was that?
You guys are crushing it, by the way, and I'm on episode 6 right now. Not of the show, but of your podcast.
I really wish Star Trek was crushing it more, but that's a whole other story. So Creeper said he loved the movie. Overall enjoyed it. However, he found that whenever we cut back to Hela on Asgard, I was sort of bored. Jeremy, the editor-in-chief extraordinaire, says the movie needed more Kate Blanchett, so he disagrees with Creeper. Creeper says,
Use your words.
yeah, I'm scrolling. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure people actually post on our chat room that I actually acknowledge them.
Yeah, way to fail at that earlier, though.
Well, I didn't have it pulled up. I'm sorry. Although the revelations brought by Homecoming in the Battle of New York was almost 10 years ago, so maybe he's just on the people's radar. He was asking why Thor is getting selfies with people, but no one noticed that Loki, the dangerous god terrorist, was right next to him. Good point.
That's a solid point. So, as Scott said, you can find us at the Front Row Movie Reviews, basically on everything. So here's the deal. We really suck at this outro. So I'm going to orchestrate this for just a second. I'm going to say this has been Craig, and then AJ's going to say AJ, and then Jeremy's going to say probably not his name because it's Jeremy, and he'll do something different. And then Scott's going to say, and Scott, and then I'm going to finish us out. So that's the order. It's going to go Craig, and then AJ, and then Jeremy, and then Scott. Okay, let's try it. This has been, for the Front Row Movie Reviews, Craig McFarland.
AJ Bailey.
It puts the lotion on its skin. Jeremy Bailey.
This is finally good job. This is Scott, and as we found out with our last podcast, we take the fun out of everything.
And we will see you in the front row of Black Panther.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Thank you for letting us be on, guys. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us be on.
You're amazing. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.